Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. Those of you with OCD or ADHD, what are some of your more intrusive thoughts? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I tend to imagine injuries in excruciating detail. One time when I was in college working in the kitchen, I remember walking past an industrial sized mixer with a dough hook as big as my arm, and I was immediately hit with the image of my leg getting caught in it and the force of the motor snapping my knee and leg bones and winding my flesh around the shaft until it shredded and tore free, like when you're trying to break the hip joint to get a leg off of a roast chicken. I'm an aircraft mechanic, and before I was diagnosed with OCD, I would constantly obsess over the maintenance I had performed, typically the quality or the intrusive thoughts about having forgotten anything. One time I was leading a removal replacement of a turbine engine with a very green mechanic's apprentice. We were working remotely in a foreign country to our own, staying in a hut thing that was a few hundred feet from the aircraft. That evening, after the maintenance was completed, I laid in bed obsessing over every part and piece of maintenance performed. I had a need to go out and check. Everything good? No issues. No one will die. Laid back in bed. I had a need to go out and check again. Everything's still good. Nothing forgot. No one will die. Laid back in bed. Still doesn't feel right. Go back out. Check again. Everything's still good. Still exactly as it was supposed to be. Laid back down. I repeated that process all effing night long. When the sun started to come up, I finally fell asleep. Roughly 2 hours later, I woke up, took a shower, and checked again. Ate breakfast, checked again. Finally, the irrational part of my brain that was disconnected from the logical portion that had been begging to accept things were good was finally granted a warm, fuzzy feeling just in time to run everything up. Went outside, stood under the aircraft during liftoffs, a common practice, but I wouldn't want to live if I had killed pilots and crashed machines anyhow, and went back to sleep. I had done that same ritual in varying forms for damn near the entirety of my life, fearing that it was a group and got help for the thing that I knew was not normal. I'd lose my edge and someone would die, but this time, my coworker comes to me and she said he had seen me spiral again. I went home and got help via a proper diagnosis, medication, and therapy. I'm happy to say I never lost my edge, just the disconnected between the logical and illogical fears, obsessions, and spirals that haunted me. I'm still not sure how I lived like I did for so long. Constant hypervigilance, endless work to please, imagined and real possibilities, grinding myself into dust, all at the expense of a sanity and safety no one should work as exhausted as I constantly was. I have excoriation disorder, which is a type of OCD, and what it means is that if I see any kind of spot on my skin, I pick at it until it's gone. And what I mean when I say pick is that I will find whatever sharp object there is. My preferred object is thumbtacks, and I will dig until I'm satisfied that it's gone. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 5 hours. Pain doesn't faze me. Blood doesn't faze me. I have dug down to the bone before with a thumbtack because I thought there was a lump in my pinky finger. I also have a severe anxiety disorder, so that means that it can get out whatever I believe is in my skin. I have a panic attack. It isn't to self-harm. I don't do it to hurt myself. I do it because I can't release or relax until I get out whatever I think is on or in my skin. I haven't had a severe picking episode in about 9 months, thanks to really good meds and mental health checks. But yeah, without that, The intrusive thought would have been, something is in there and I have to get it out, would destroy me.
I knew a few girls that were like chronic pickers. I clearly don't think to this level, but fascinating. I never heard of this before. Thanks.
There are two that are equally bad. The first one that made me absolutely break down was right after I'd gotten a new kitten. I had razors out for other reasons, and my brain is like, hey, why not slit Freya's, my kitten's, throat? The other is screaming at my grandparents. I know it sounds stupid, but it absolutely effing crushes me to think that even through yelling at them intentionally to hurt them. Not intrusive thoughts per se, but my ADHD brain gets stuck on songs. Not the whole song though, just one line. That will play endlessly in my brain, regardless of the situation. Not gonna lie, it's a little funny when I'm having a little menti bee and crying my eyes out, and my brain just goes, it has the juice. Yes, Corn Kid has been living rent-free in my head. I don't know either. Otherwise, it was just dumb things like, what if, while it's running, I open the washing machine? What if I pull the emergency bar in the subway, etc.? But usually, I just laugh at myself and shoo them away. There was one instinct, though, when I didn't manage to stop my hand in time and opened an elevator door between floors because I wanted to go see what would happen. My OCD is pretty bad at all times, but it really spiked for me postpartum. Something about the combination of being off my meds, the hormone crash, and the sleep deprivation and responsibility of a newborn just puts it in overdrive. For months, I couldn't just hold and carry my first son because I wouldn't see myself dropping him and panicking and trying to kick him back into my arms like the world's loudest and rudest hacky sack, but instead, kicking him straight through a wall, I could see the blood splatters his little head made. When would any hole it would put in the drywall, and oh my effing god, I couldn't do it. I started baby wearing just so I'd have my hands free and physically could not drop the baby. So of course, the thoughts changed to, you're just gonna fall on him and squish him like a pancake of blood and guts? Meds, sweet, sweet SSRIs. I need them. I write rap lyrics in my head constantly. When you're writing tens of thousands of lines on a routine basis, some of them are not gonna make you proud. I remember exactly what was in the grocery bag on my passenger seat on the exact turn when my brain spat out, never break, never falter. I slapped the Virgin Mary and effed her on the altar. I sat in my car for like 10 minutes like, what is wrong with you, dude?
Did you become a rapper because you have ADHD or OCD, or is that just some of the thoughts because you have it? Either way, good line.
I have bad teeth. Nothing horrible, just always in need of more fillings, etc. Because my parents just stopped taking me to the dentist when I was in middle school, and I didn't really understand that this was my responsibility now until I was 18. This, mixed with ADHD, means I considerably and constantly have intrusive thoughts of losing my teeth by any number of means. See a curb? What about a doorknob? What if I fell face first into that? Every set and every eat a tortilla chip after actually having experienced the healthy crunch sound of a broken tooth. I only got diagnosed with ADHD in January, but in hindsight, the worst intrusive thoughts are the ones that make me spiral afterwards. My partner's driving home from my house. Let's think about them dying in a car accident. The moment after the car accident, their funeral, sorting through their stuff. Holding a baby and accidentally touching their butt or private part. Am I a pedophile? Am I attracted to babies? Holding a knife while someone's in the kitchen. Let's stab my dad. And then spiral about why I would ever do something like that. It's hard. It really makes you question yourself and what kind of person you are sometimes. I still haven't figured out how to deal with it. As someone with both, they're kind of a bit too different to be ranked together. ADHD unwanted thoughts are just that my brain is never quiet. Something is always happening. My mind can never be empty without something to think about popping in. It'll be like laying there, trying to sleep, and my brain runs through all the things I didn't get done that day with the background of a song I don't even like on loop until I fall asleep. Trying to keep my thoughts on track and avoid any of the unwanted pop-ins can border on painful in a way. But there's not any real distress by the contents of the thoughts inherently. The worst there is, really, just where sometimes I'll see a movie or something and won't be able to stop thinking about it all night and get no sleep. OCD is a whole different beast, though. It'll drag out the worst things you can think of specifically because it knows what the worst thing you can think of is. I've had thoughts of violence, SA, being killed, being hurt, or maimed, my things being stolen, my life falling apart. If I had to pick a worst, I had a year and a half where if I didn't tell people some variation of good night, sleep well, I love you, before I fell asleep, I was convinced they'd die. For one friend, I thought they'd kill themselves. For one, I thought they'd get back in the car crash. For another, I thought they'd drink too much and choke on their vomit in their sleep. It's either that or the graphic ones about hurting my dogs, who I love more than I love myself. Being terrified someone I care about is going to die, it's my fault, or that I might deep down want to hurt my babies are both pretty shitty, but a reminder, it's kinda hard to put a number on it, you know? I used to have this weird loop in my head, not so bad anymore. It's a thought. I'm sure at one point started out with something specific, but now it's just the negative, foggy thoughts that's coupled with the absolutely gut-wrenching fear that I won't be able to stop thinking about it. Like being forced to wear this attachment in front of my face, filtering everything I see and think, and the torment of trying to forget it, made me feel absolutely actually insane. It used to linger for days on end until thankfully I would forget about it. I now practice more of mindfulness, as well as giving more and more of my life and burdens to Jesus. I'm a Christian, focusing on the joy he brings, and facing the thought head on so my brain correlates the trigger thought with I'm the one with the power, and so it's not a big deal and nothing to fear. Stretch, so I forget it more quickly now. But the crazy part is, there's no specific thought. It's like an echo of a trauma, thought maybe from my childhood long ago. I had proper clinical OCD when I was 11 years old. It started with the rollout of the meningitis vaccine program in my country at the time and manifested as me fearing for my life on a daily basis unless I obeyed my intrusive thoughts and compulsions. Most often, it was simple stuff like don't step on cracks in the pavement, ensure that any number you interact with are even and can be made even. For example, if the TV volume was 12, it was fine. 13 was also fine, as it was 1 plus 3 equals 4. At its peak, the worst one was each day, every second sentence that I heard a randomly selected person in my classroom say. I would have to repeat it under my breath backwards 3 times. After a few months of this, I got really good at hearing people speak and instantly being able to read it back to people in my mind. Alongside all this, I had the usual stuff. I washed my hands so often they cracked and bled. I didn't use cutlery or dishes more than a single time. OCD is awful.
I feel some of this, and I'm also an even number alarm setter, but not 0, and even number volume person on the TV. I have other stuff, but that went away. Interesting.
I have dermatillomania as a repetitive body alteration thing. There's a technical name that I can't remember right now. I'm under the influence of an upper respiratory infection from hell at the moment. If I feel a bump, blackhead, nubbin, anything, I must pick it and remove it. I also have keratinosis pilaris, aka skin that produces too much keratin, which clogs the pores, so forms lots of bits I can pick at over my entire body. The worst area as a teen were my arms and face. They were torn to blood constantly. Also, when my ADHD was undiagnosed and untreated, I spent a lot of time in baggy hoodies, even in summer. As an adult with proper meds, I still pick some, but I have more control over it. And when I'm scared to tell, I'm not as self conscious about it as I was when I was younger.